So welcome to the Global AMR R&D Hub interview series. I'm Suzanne Edwards. Today we are speaking to Sabine Vogler, the head of the Pharmacoeconomics Department at the Austrian National Public Health Institute. So we met for the first time when I attended your Pharmaceutical Pricing and Reimbursement Information Conference back in the autumn of 2019. So many thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So we're going to chat very briefly today about a study that you recently carried out for us. So I'm going to dive into the first question for you. So why is it important to review pricing, procurement and reimbursement policy tools as a way of encouraging the development and market entry of these needed new AMR health technologies?
These policies complement the other policies that are usually done to encourage research and development. Pricing, procurement, and reimbursement policies, they address the health technologies at the time between the marketing authorization and the actual launch. And by defining a price, by ensuring that they are included into public funding, they provide an incentive that they will be launched and marketed.
Fantastic. And you say that you identified many tools. Were there some that you identified that would perhaps be more promising to the specific challenges facing these new technologies in the AMR space?
Yes, we identified some very specific tools that particularly address also the specific challenges of AMR health technologies, which are lack of data, low price, low volume. For instance, the HTA methodology can be adjusted to really account for the specificities of the AMR health technologies, or managed entry agreements, arrangements between the company and the public payers to ensure earlier access of health technologies with lack of data and some uncertainty could be another option, or delinking procurements from the volumes. Guaranteeing a fixed price is another policy option, as well as pooling procurements in general.
So it certainly seems that there is a growing acknowledgement of the value, the broader value of new antibiotics and diagnostics within the field of AMR. So where do you see the challenges with the realization of this, whether it's the willingness or perhaps ability to pay?
I think these are all policies that are kind of exemptions to the existing policies, and they provide incentives to the companies. And of course, they come at the cost, which can be or usually is higher prices and thus higher public expenditure, but also, for instance, with regard to managed entry agreements, acknowledging that you have to take the decision at a time when evidence is still low. So these are a little bit the disadvantages. And another issue is that if you want to have equity across countries, it has to be acknowledged that there will be countries that simply do not have the ability to pay. Help or support can be provided with capacity building, but still, if the ability to pay high prices is not there, this is surely a challenge.
So to pick up on that, we know that the disproportionate burden of AMR will fall in low and middle income countries. Are similar health system tools available across countries?
Yeah, there was quite some difference, I would say, between medicines in general and the diagnostics and the medical devices. And for medicines, we have quite a tradition of policy tools in pricing and reimbursement, which have been implemented for many decades, one can say, and have been optimized over the years. While for the diagnostics, it's much less. There are often no pricing policies at all. So the level of policy implementation for diagnostics was much lower.
I mean, we were very happy that the study found available tools that could be perhaps adapted or applied to this space. But given the global nature of biotechnology markets, do you think that national health system reform has the possibility to positively influence both the product development and also the patient access issues?
Yeah, absolutely. In particular, with regard to patient access, I think this is really also the national competence of the authorities, and with support to the countries, with strengthening of the health systems, a lot can be improved. When it comes to development, there is the question if maybe more is needed than what can be ensured at national level. And there's the question if, for instance, here international community may step in, that some mechanisms that ensure the product development, but also an equitable distribution globally, as we see, for instance, now with the COVID vaccines, might be needed through some international mechanism.
And in the spring of 2021, so quite recently, the UN high-level dialogue encouraged the world to start moving from talk to action on this specific aspect. So do you believe the study has a role to play in this translation?
Yes, I think so, because what we also saw in the study, that there are two communities. On the one hand, the community on incentivizing research and development, and on the other hand, the community on the payers and pricing authorities, and both are important. But we felt that the two communities are still rather distinct, and they could learn a lot from each other. And we hope that with this study, we can also help bridging between the communities. And in addition, we think that having identified some good practice examples in the study, this can help other countries to learn, to see, to explore whether or not this policy could also be used in their national context. And last but not least, as some of the examples were rather at the piloting phase, we can see if it's well monitored and evaluated how it turns out. So we consider the study as one that is really giving support to action.
Great. Well, that's a very optimistic note to end on, Sabine. So the full study can be found on our website, along with a couple of policy briefs that we've sort of put together. And Sabine, I'd just like to thank you very much for your and your team's work, and thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and to talk about this study.
Great. Take care.